Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed panelists and distinguished guests, welcome to this final panel discussion on the future technology with artificial intelligence. This panel concludes 2 days of insightful exchanges and discussions. And while exploring various topics in this journey, the majority of the speakers inevitably mentioned artificial intelligence due to its main significance. Today, we have the chance to have a dedicated session, and we'll try to delve into 4 topics that are shaping the industry and driving innovation. First, we will explore the surge of AI interest that emerged this year. We will discuss the need for guidelines to manage the growth and impact of AI, addressing important challenges related to bias, transparency, and ethical considerations. Next, we will examine AI influence on the telecom industry and focus on generative AI use cases and their business opportunities and impacts. Our third topic will focus on challenges and opportunities of the integration of AI into telecom networks, where our panelists will also share their insights on leveraging AI while ensuring robust security, safety, and reliability. Finally, we will explore perspectives and approaches taken by telecom actors and leaders to address the rapid pace of AI evolution. To address our first topic, my first question will be addressed to you, Yahia. So as we know, AI exists since the 50s, with AI analysis starting from machine learning, the deep learning, NLP, and now generative AI with a lot of use cases. In your opinion, what factors do you believe triggered the sudden hype on the interest of AI technologies like ChatGPT this year, which reached nearly 180 million active users last month? And in your opinion, was it driven more by technological advances or changes in business strategies and opportunities?
Well, thank you, Husni, and I'm very honored to be with you here tonight to share my modest experience. As you said, artificial intelligence is not necessarily a new topic. We spoke about artificial intelligence quite extensively for the last 2 days. But the journey began quite a few years ago, and that's true for most companies. It's also true for inwi. We began our, let's say, data transformation journey quite a few years ago, and artificial intelligence was on the menu for quite some time, with quite a few use cases as well being developed and implemented. If we are to look at why are we talking about Gen AI and this particular acceleration, I think that we need to sort of look back at how we used to do artificial intelligence or machine learning or advanced analytics use cases before. It usually was a process where we would, well, identify a business need, develop an algorithm, try to figure out how to implement that algorithm, and drive this whole process with a lot of change management to make sure that people are actually using those insights, the insights coming out of the data on the ground. And this whole process used to take quite a lot of time, to be fair, depending on the use case that you're looking at, but we're talking at least a few months. What happened in my experience with the recent acceleration is that we took a few components out of the equation. If you look at this entire process, first of all, you're taking out the change management part. It used to be that only a data scientist can interact with the data, only a data scientist can develop an algorithm, etc., etc. Now, you're talking a language with the machine, so everyone understands how to interact with the machine. So by doing that, you're taking out the change management aspect. You don't need to do change management because people understand what they're doing, especially given the fact that what they're given is actionable insights or actionable deliverables. So that's one component that's helped with let's say, the adoption of the Gen AI. The other component for me is probably the breadth of situations where you can use Gen AI. I think that we spoke about quite a few topics customer self-care, customer service, maintenance, procurement, legal, you name it. It's quite a wide array of topics that can be addressed with Gen AI. And the fact that you can address all of these areas means that a lot of people are getting interested into this topic and are experimenting with it. And for me, the last factor that really plays into the equation is simply the time to market. It takes a lot less time to get from a business requirement, a business need, an opportunity into real-time implementation. And this plays a lot into why people are looking at it so and are so excited about it.
Thank you, Yahia. It's interesting to hear a vendor point of view regarding this question. So briefly, Harry, what are your thoughts in the same question?
Sorry, can you repeat it? I couldn't hear. Can you repeat the question?
Like, what are your thoughts regarding the set in AI, the drivers, whether technological ones or the changes in business strategies and opportunities?
Sorry, one more time. Can you repeat? Sorry.
No problem. What are your thoughts regarding the sudden hype in AI this year? It's whether technological advances or strategies and opportunities changes.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Sorry, I was having a little bit of a problem hearing you. I think it's both, right? And I think the bigger thing here is how can you bring automation and overall total cost of handling customers down, right? That's where a lot of the hype is. Now, if you look at OpenAI or ChatGPT or any of these LLMs out there, the whole point is to how can you utilize it in the right way to enable customers so that the conversation between, let's say, the contact center agent as the first use case and the end user can be more conversation. They should not understand that it's like coming from a chat bot or whatever. However, the challenges of that are many, right? 90% of the use cases in the telco environment involving, using any of these LLMs in the right way needs access to, customer data, so the BSS OSS data. So for example, if I'm asking for a problem with a bill problem, I don't know why my bill is high. A normal ChatGPT or any of these LLMs, for example, will not be able to tell you that. You need to be able to synchronize that with the real-time data and then be able to come out with the right scenarios to tell the right the explanation. Same with somebody who doesn't understand the prorated charges on their invoice. How would you do that with a LLM which are generic? You just can't do it. So you need to be able to harness it in the right way, synchronize that with the right data from the BSS OSS systems, understand the business processes so that what are they really trying to say here? I don't understand my bill is a very vague kind of a term, right? What they don't understand for sure is if the LLM synchronized with data in the right sequence, in the right solution, let's say the solution that we bring to the market, to understand what the intent is. The intent is that there was an overage charge, his prorated contract got over, some of the other discounts that he was getting got over, and he was also roaming, and all these related to his last two bills were higher than his typical bill cycle or the typical bills that he receives. So how do you put this all together in the right way? Now it's all about automation. Okay. How can you divert calls from the call center? How can you reduce average handling time? It basically impacts the bottom line of the operator. So it's about that.
Okay.
And whatever tools that you can bring to create those efficiencies, that's what matters.
Okay, let me follow up on this. Netcrackers partners with a wide range of organizations across various industries, including transportations, logistics, healthcare. We've seen the use case presented yesterday by Andrew, and of course telecommunications. So given the broad spectrum of clients you have, each with varying levels of digital and AI maturity, what are some practical first steps that companies which are just beginning with AI can take today without getting overhyped?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's to really identify the areas that where they're looking for efficiency, the typical areas, and to understand that what kind of use cases they want to roll out. Second, I think the biggest problem, which pretty much doesn't matter whether it's a telco or a non-telco, any other industry faces, is there are too many data silos also, right? different data, in different structures, in different environment. How do you correlate that? Also, on top of that, you have unstructured data. For example, if you're looking at, IoT data or your, let's say, social media data, for example, how do you bring it? How do you normalize the data? How do you compress that? And how do you make the actionable insights to make sure that happens? So data, harnessing the data, cleansing the data, and normalizing the data. That's the second big step, depending on which use case I'm looking for. It is very difficult to do that. It's easier said than really done. And I'm sure the operators here will be able to talk about how difficult that can be. And then you look at the right use cases to make sure that you bring in all these things together to be able to work with it. You also have to remember these data will work with the different IT systems that work with it, right? So data comes with that. It's in the context of telecom, it's the billing and OSS data, your customer management data, your assurance data, all of these things need to bring together. If you go to other industries, you are bringing in data from your HR system, your supply chain management, other ERP systems, et cetera, et cetera. So it's understanding of all the different life cycles to bring it together. And which data you need to deal with in real time versus which one you can deal with in non-real time, that also becomes important.
Thank you, Ari. Dr. Ahmed, given both the hype around AI and its potential for inflated expectations, and the Saudi government's ambitious strategy to establish itself as a global AI and data leader by 2030, how is Red Sea Global managing its AI strategy to ensure realistic and beneficial outcomes?
Not so sure you're going to like my answer. But before I answer that, first of all, thank you for having me. A big thank you to Tony. He knows how to bring in the best speakers. He knows how to throw the best events. So very happy to be with everyone here. Can you raise your hand if you've heard of Red Sea Global? Okay. For those of you who haven't, type in, and a big shout out to the best CTO in history, Ibrahim Gideon. Dr. Ibrahim, thank you for being with us. Red Sea Global is a company that is building tourist destinations at the west coast of Saudi. What makes it, so it capitalizes on four things. First of all, the beauty of the west coast. If you're into diving, snorkeling, any water activities, the Red Sea will be high on your list. Second, all our resorts are going to be 100% zero carbon. So we're 100% renewable energy, no single-use plastics. I have a long list of items that makes us sustainable. Thirdly, we're building very unique assets. If you visit our website, you'll see how unique and spectacular the resorts we're building. For example, the Desert Rock, it's a mountain that we're literally drilling a hotel in it. So, and the fourth reason is the guest experience that we're going to be providing. So imagine landing in an airport that doesn't have a luggage carousel because we're fully integrated with all the hotels. So we take care of the luggage for you. So no, find the luggage, pick up the luggage, oops, wrong luggage, find the luggage, pick up the luggage, drag the luggage, drop the luggage, those 45 minutes of agony removed. And then you can stretch and extend this to the entirety of the guest experience. So we're not a technology company, but if you look at what we're trying to achieve, there's a lot of technology involved. I will give you two of the most boring examples where AI has been extremely effective for us. The first is HR. So end of 2022, we closed the year at 2,700 employees. Today, we're 5,200. We've doubled. Next year, we're going to cross the mark of 10,000 because we're opening all these resorts and expanding. How do you acquire and hire the right talent? Filtering through these thousands and thousands of CVs, that whole experience of onboarding, so on and so forth. AI has been invaluable, even if it's not the flashiest implementations, but it has been a lifesaver that prevented our HR department from imploding. So that's example number one. Example number two is our call center, or what we like to call our customer care center, because we're omni-channel, we get requests from any kind of communication channel. Small touches of AI have substantially improved our capacity, the time of response, and the quality of the response. So again, being able to handle large volumes of calls and requests with a relatively small team without imploding. And I can go on and on and on. But the idea is we're sensible to our approach for adopting the technology because we're not, probably everyone else here is, as a technology company wants to push it, we're on the user side. So, and it's not our core business, so we have to justify the investment. So we're more on, we like to try, we like to adopt, and wherever we can build a business case, we go.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. I'll switch to you, Jan. Vodafone Oman, as the market digital challenger, has been actively integrating artificial intelligence into its operations and services, thanks to many partnerships, notably with Ericsson and Netcracker. So Jan, I'd love to get your perspective on how companies like Vodafone Oman protect themselves from potential risks like biased data or algorithms, ethical considerations, and transparency as they adopt AI, and what governance is needed to address this ecosystem.
Good evening and salam alaikum. First of all, thank you very much for having me back on the panel. And I might start with the opportunities rather than the risks and how we are mitigating them. Gen AI in particular will have a profound impact on society, on the way we work, on the way we live, on the way we conduct commerce, on the way we learn. And certainly for me as a marketing practitioner, it is all about the combination of the head and the heart. So the utilization of data-driven insights and analytics in combination with creating engaging touchpoint experiences with our customers at every single moment of the customer lifecycle. And in that context, as a marketing scientist, I can echo what Yahia already said. I see AI in particular as an evolution rather than a revolution. Because as an operations research person, as a trade, so I studied operations research at university, fundamentally the models, if you look at the regression models, if you look at the prediction models that are underlying the AI solutions that we are currently utilizing, it is actually incredibly similar to what existed in the 80s, the 90s, etc. The difference right now in the application is really about the computing power and the availability of data. Now I can, from a first-hand experience, talk about my initial touch point that I had from a business application viewpoint with the utilization of deep learning in particular. I conducted in Vodafone Germany when I was CBM director in Vodafone in Düsseldorf, a deep learning project for the purpose of churn prevention and retention. And we already had churn prevention models before, so basically these models would give you a likelihood and a score based on a specific scientific lift about the likelihood of specific cohorts and individuals leaving the business for various different reasons, and then you could inspire actions to obviously prevent the churn event. The difference from the traditional modeling to the AI-based modeling was significant in terms of the lift, and we were able, based on the marketing campaigns that we executed, to reduce the postpaid churn by 1 percentage point over a period of 12 months, which is very significant, as you can imagine. Now, this was driven by two factors. One, the higher prediction accuracy, and two, the way the machine learning model worked, it wasn't biased or had any preconception of the reasons. So we were discovering new churn drivers and triggers that we hadn't in mind before, like network quality, etc., etc. So what's different in 2023? What's different really is the acceleration of the adoption of AI, and particularly LLM, in the public domain. And I think it was Michael earlier who said there may be 300 million jobs at risk. What I have to say is I'm quite surprised that some of these jobs that are at risk are different from what we would have thought about maybe 10 years ago. So we would have thought about activities that are very repetitive or operational or administrative jobs. And in reality, what I see right now and what I can share in terms of my second use case about Vodafone Oman is that the first areas, pragmatic areas of assisted AI adoption is actually in my brand department. So together with our marketing agency, when we are now doing copywriting, when we are now generating creative for our advertisement, it is really very different from the approach that was just there a couple of years ago. So for simple campaigns right now, rather than planning and booking a photo shoot and then having a lengthy creative process, you can now generate advertisement collateral with AI. If you're generating a customer value management campaign, you can generate and test, A/B test copy in an incredible period in time, all based on existing AI tools that are available. So that is, of course, still in an assisted manner because we have practitioners that are utilizing the tools rather than fully automated. The outlook is really interesting once you are fully able to go to the next level, and this is currently what we are looking into in terms of utilizing AI in network optimization, particularly in quality, but also deploying AI in the customer touchpoints. So notably on a global level, I can mention our chatbot Toby that Vodafone is utilizing, where in a fully automated and conversational manner, you can tackle up to 80–90% of any of service concerns that you would have with Vodafone with a chatbot. And this is really just the infancy of what we can do, particularly in sales and marketing, adopting AI. Now back to your point, I think as telcos, we need to be quite conscious of our single biggest asset. And our single biggest asset is the trust of our customers. And the trust of our customers, particularly if you think about the role that we have with the consumer and enterprise base, is also very much influenced by the way we handle data, by the way we are keeping data safe, by the way we are guaranteeing privacy, and also by the way we process and analyze data for the purpose of all of these beautiful use cases. During the Telecom Review Summit, I think we were discussing this before. We have heard this business has 100 use cases, the next one has 200 use cases or 600 use cases. And this is all fantastic, but in the end, I think we need to be quite clear that the enabler to monetize, particularly the Gen I opportunities, having the right framework in the business for AI, and that comes all the way back to privacy, security, transparency, and first and foremost, I'd also would like to focus on accountability. So inside the business, we need to be really clear when it comes to accountability, because R&D and innovation is great. Once we scale it and once we leverage these opportunities, we need to be trusted and we need to be ethical. And I think it will be quite an interesting journey now in the next couple of years, not only to showcase all the beautiful automation opportunities, robotics opportunities, personalization opportunities. I talked about the head and the heart. And the heart really, again, features in the personalization. So if we can use Gen AI in particular in the next couple of years to create more individualized, more personal experiences across the touch points, then we can really maximize the value, provided we do that in an ethical and trusted and accountable manner. I think that's really important.
Thank you, Jan. So we're moving forward to our second topic, which covers the AI influence on the telecom industry and the impact of advanced AI language models like ChatGPT on the interaction between business and users. So starting with you, Patrick. Just for the audience, Patrick is the field CTO of Realize, which is a new US-based company leveraging AI in monetizing and optimizing networks operations. It's part of Beyond Company with more than 20 years experience in AI. So maybe you can share with us how AI is transforming key functions like network optimization and monetization in the telecom industry today.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. And it's an honor to be here tonight. Let me rephrase maybe a little bit, because how AI has been transforming over the years, because we've been doing it for quite some time. But also there is a question how Gen I is transforming AI that we have been doing for years, right? So from that perspective, we've noticed quite significant advancement and acceleration, right? Let me give you a couple of examples. So we've got, one of the tools that we've got is quite niche application of packet capture in which we identify the type of problems we have on the network. And what we used to be doing in the past with the use of AI, we had to train the models for every type of service, right? For VoLTE, for data, for registration. So we had data scientists training these models. What happened now is that we translate this packet capture into a language. We translate to a text. This text is a language of packet capture. So this language now, we basically apply large language model to it, and then we don't need to be training every service separately. It's enough that we give no errors data into the LLM. It's going to learn the language, and then when there is missing words or words out of order, it knows there is a problem, right? So it's been amazing acceleration of application of this type of a solution. Another example is, for example, ticket automation, right? So before we had to do the ticket classification, we're doing different type of models in order to predict what's the potential solution for a ticket problem. Now with the LLM, we can apply the LLM model, and as soon as you start typing the new ticket description, the system will automatically find out the most similar tickets from the past with a similarity score. I mean, again, this is accelerating multiple times the time to deploy certain AI solution, right? I mean, but when it comes, so this is more on the operational side, how it accelerates. But another thing that is very important as well is breaking the silos, right? So we know that traditionally, we had different teams looking after different type of problems, radio, transport, core, and having the AI to break the silos can significantly improve the capability to identify the problem, understand where it's coming from. Yeah, so this is, here I bow to Günther, who was on the previous channel from Uradu Qatar, that enabled us to work together and partner to help him, during the World Cup to identify, the problems before they happen.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I switch to you, Mounir. I've had read your interview in the Telecom Review yesterday, and I found it very interesting, especially when you comment how MYCOM is supporting companies in the adoption of AI and automation solutions through new innovative services by saying, I quote, "Our customers have reduced MTR, mean time to repair, at NOC Network Operations Center and SOC Service Operations Center by up to 80% and have automated 100% of their ticket creation process." So maybe you can tell us what new business opportunities and revenue streams do AI and automation enable for telecom companies, and how can they monetize AI investments?
Yeah, thank you. I think a lot of great things have been already said by the esteemed panelists. I think that right now all of us are talking, we are in an industry, we like to talk about something new, the trend. So this year the trend is Gen AI. 2 years ago we were all talking about 5G slicing. Now I don't know what happened to 5G slicing, for example. So it is right now a hype and a trend. And I'm sure it has a lot of potential. But just behind it, right, just taking a step back, predictive AI or machine learning based on, the traditional approach, now what seems a traditional approach, which is training algorithms or training models and then letting them, putting them into operations in runtime and letting them produce, for example, predictions or correlations, etc., is really the key right now, is really what's what, in my view, has the biggest promise of transforming the telcos, at least for the next 2 years, in the operations, in the heart of the network and the operations. So what we have been doing with the customers, first, with the CSPs, helping them to prepare the data, and I think it has been said a lot, that without proper curated, normalized data sets, none of what we are talking about can happen.
Yeah.
Now, for machine learning. Now, this data happens to be ultra fragmented, very disparate, very kind of proprietary. So the first thing is we have been working because we ourselves are a data platform. So we mediate data from a great variety of data sources, and then we turn it into curated, normalized data sets that we then inject in data lakes, and we make available through open APIs to then monetize it in different ways. And I'll come to it in a second. But then we make that data available then to train models. Now, what we have observed in machine learning in our industry, that you need to really reach accuracies in the network operations of 80, 90% and above, you need massive amount of training. It is not, it's not like I train one generic model and no. Sometimes you need to train models for one time series, i.e. for an average medium-sized operator, you need to train millions of models in machine learning to achieve and only in network operations, to achieve the desired output. So having the right architecture in place, the machine learning pipeline, this whole machinery that maybe is the boring stuff is absolutely fundamental if you want to repeat these use cases at scale. So what we have done is that we have helped our customers to first put this data fabric in place, right? Produce these curated and normalized data sets. Then on top of it, put these machine learning pipelines that help them to then produce to train the models and then to deliver use cases. What are the use cases? The first one is predictions. And when you predict issues before they arrive, or that you predict the traffic and the quality of service, etc., you are able to detect, and then you compare with what's happening on day-to-day, and you generate anomaly detection. And that anomaly detection helps you reduce your mean time to identify. A single roaming issue, and we have a lot of operators who complain with issues with roaming, right? A single roaming can impact 100 operators who are your partners, and it can generate issues across like hundreds of operators. It can be detected in one go. So the mean time then to identify such issue, because with the combination of prediction and correlation, can allow you to achieve this kind of 90% reduction in the mean time to identify and to repair, and then to do everything up to the trouble ticketing. So in operations, the three use cases are prediction, correlation, and root cause analysis. And where Gen AI could help in the future, I believe, is in the automatic remediation, because then it can generate the solution, the fix that you can apply in an automated manner to the network. And those are the concrete steps. And in terms of the promise for the CSPs is huge in terms of the reduction of the operational costs. You're talking about massive amounts. Now I don't want to say that those people will lose their jobs. Again, back to what Michael was saying before, but maybe retraining and repurposing the people. But yes, you can move to really closed loop operations there.
Thank you, Mounir. Switching to you, Yahia, how do you foresee AI language models changing customer service and marketing interactions? Do you think they enhance or replace human roles?
Yeah, that's a good question. So before talking about customer service, I think that all of the esteemed panelists did mention a lot of areas of implementation, and I do echo or relate to what has been discussed. Right now, the challenge is really identify what are the right areas of focus where we should apply AI in order to generate impact. And customer service, of course, is one very interesting area. I think someone during those 2 days said at some point the ultimate goal of the customer service is to make sure that the client is not calling us because the customer experience is so good that the client doesn't feel the need to get in touch with his operator. But that's not always the case. And the way we are looking right now at how AI can help us with the customer service is we're taking the entire value chain, and in reality we have 2, 3, maybe 4 main touch points where the client would get in touch with us. That starts with a simple chatbot touch point, and here again artificial intelligence can bring varying levels of impact, depending also on the type of integration that we choose. So it can be just a simple chatbot that gives you general information, but depending on the level of integration with your CRM data, it can be hyper-personalized answers to the client, like information on his bill or transactions. I want to buy a product, so you can execute it on the chatbot. So that's one first area of focus, and even within this area of focus, there's different levels of how we can leverage AI. Second area of focus within customer support, of course, for me is when the client calls. So you have this automated answering, like IVR, and even here you can like the traditional way of having it is you have this branch and the client goes through the branch. So a first level of impact can be, of course, having a sort of conversational AI to identify what is the client calling you for and direct him to the right to the right place for him, or to the right agent. But it can also go as far as a voice bot that interacts with the client. And finally comes, of course, the agent and our capacity to augment the agent. And to relate to your question, I do believe that AI, well, we spoke about the risks for jobs. Risks are there, but there's also the opportunity to augment and to help people in improving their operational excellence. And clearly, the agents are one of those areas where AI can augment the work of people on the ground. The way that happens, it can happen live while the client is calling you. You can adapt, hyper-personalize the message to the client, understand better what is the issue that the client is facing in order to address it. But it can also happen. It can also happen afterwards. You can use AI to rate how was the interaction with the client. You can use sentiment analysis to detect if there's any trends coming into your call center. There's a lot of domains of application. You can also use AI to create a database that your agents can query during their discussion with the client. So all of these are ways to help the agent better do his job. And it's not just client support, by the way. It can be also sales. When you call a client for cross-sell or upsell, you can also personalize the type of message, the type of speech that you're addressing the client with. So all in all, a lot of opportunities within the customer service. To wrap up with the question on the risks for jobs. For me, I think that there will be a lot of opportunities created on top of everything that has been said so far, but there will be a lot of opportunities for people to really accelerate, to really increase their operational excellence going further.
Thank you, Yahia. So, Jan, getting back to you, you talked about marketing, Yahia, about customer service. So considering these use cases that have been shared, what new opportunities and risks do conversational AI tools present for customer data privacy and security?
So I think the first immediate opportunity in customer service in particular is to move from a largely reactive environment to a proactive environment. And we have already been doing that, but now with LLM in particular, we can take that to the next level. So the whole idea basically is from a service experience perspective that you don't wait for a complaint or that you don't have to address an issue, but proactively, based on the data that you have available, you either can prevent it from a service quality perspective, or you can anticipate a customer contact into the call center or utilizing the app. So the opportunity really to move into pro-action and personalization is imminent. And I think this is really where we will see the biggest change in the near future, and we are currently actively working on implementing and integrating. we talked about 3 different factors before. One was the computing power that is now in place, particularly with the cloud. The second one was the models, and they have been around for a while. The third one was also already discussed, which is the availability of data. My CTO, Stelios, esteemed colleague, is in the crowd, and we are discussing that a lot. We have the opportunity in Oman that we are greenfield, so we had no legacy. I have an amazing data lake with real-time information available, and really the impact, I mean the change that I can create is just so much bigger depending on the data points. If I can go back to the churn prevention and retention example I gave before, when we fed the machine learning in the sandbox only with CDRs, that was the first step. And then there was an improvement in the churn prediction accuracy. But once we plugged in network quality information, call center information, customer sentiment, that was really the moment where we saw the biggest improvement. Now, if proactive rather than reactive service experience and personalization are real opportunities, even from a brand relationship viewpoint, then making sure that we get it done in the right way is really important. And not all customers, I mean, it depends also on culture, appreciate a hyper-personalized experience. You know, some people do not want to be addressed with a name. Some people do not want to have a relationship where, you know, the service provider knows too much. So staying close to our consumers in terms of their need for privacy, their need for security, and also I would say the readiness for some of these experiences that we are discussing is really, really important, because in the end we are doing it to achieve superior results, either from an operational viewpoint or from you know, customer experience viewpoint. And I think trial and error over the next period, while I think, again, from a society perspective, we are getting in tune with these new type of experiences is really, really important. I'd like to maybe add one aspect, again, from, I think, human impact of LLM in particular, that is really, really important. And I mentioned it before. The existing tools that are out there to some degree are creating a level playing field for everybody. Let me explain what I mean. A couple of months ago, an Iranian friend of mine who lives here in the Emirates contacted me and said, Jan, can you help me? I'd like to import to the UAE some medical equipment for a hospital client. And he found it incredibly difficult to deal with German exporters. Now, I knew nothing about that, right? So, and I'm not an expert in this. What I did is that I used 2 different tools in a conversational mode to say, okay, generate a set of letters and a set of compliant documentation to request an export. And I'm actually competent enough, based on my Google search ability, then to understand that what the Gen AI or what the LLM generated for me is actually fit for purpose. And the result, which was he in the end got these medical equipment imported, spoke for itself. The interesting part was that I, as a telco practitioner that understood nothing about Incoterms and so forth, was able to do that in 10 minutes. I was able to generate appropriate documentation for that task, which normally is very specialized, in minutes. So now if you think about what that means, there are people in our society that are less literate. There are people that are not necessarily having an academic education and that used to have hurdles when doing certain business transaction. The capability of the LLMs that we have right now, and ChatGPT, we heard the announcement yesterday about the BART augmentation, etc., that is already fit enough to completely change the way people are doing business, and is fit enough to lower the hurdles for doing business. And I think we will only see in the next period what that really means. And if I go back to telco, what I'm incredibly excited to see is the impact it has already created internally from an information management. Because if I look at my call center, for example, where previously you needed to look into some knowledge bank or, you know, get access to training, etc. Now you can just use a resource that in a really easy format, easy conversational format will give you the answer to the challenge that you have. So I think the opportunities are incredible, but I would underline that if we will have the first telco that ruins it for us all, because we will have a data leak or an abusive use case or an unethical use case, that can be a real reputation risk. And I think having on an industry level, on a regulation level, an open dialogue on what type of frameworks do we want to create for AI is really important.
Thank you, Jan. I think we're running late. I don't know if Tony can give us 10 minutes more just to address 2-3 questions.
Tony's not here.
Okay, so quickly a few words about the challenges and the opportunities of integration AI into telecom networks. Patrick and Mounir, in a few words, what are some of the top hurdles to overcome and integrating AI deeply into telecom network?
I would say, if there was one, because I want to be straight to the point and we have only 30 seconds. The AI of today, the models of today don't speak the network language. We're talking about LLM, they're trained with text only in internet. They can solve a number of problems. They cannot solve they cannot talk the network language. Second, and I'll stop here, they do not know how to reason. They just know how to predict the next text, for example, or the next pixel or whatever. That's a big problem. Right now, there are things that are more promising that are to come, like the self-taught reasoning algorithms, etc. But we, as a telecom industry, need to join forces to train to come up with a super telecom LLM, the one that speaks the network language and can really be operationalized to really automate, become like a brain of what we all want, and that is the autonomous networks of the future. All together as an industry, we need to come together and have our telco LLM.
Patrick?
Yeah, I'm not going to be very original if I'm gonna, there's a lot of that Mounir and Ari actually said about the data quality, about the fact if you don't have the data, you can't train. So detection of things that are sparse events, for example, like low volume, high impact type of problems on the network are difficult, and they require certain level of additional effort in order to be able to detect them. But on the Gen AI, yes, there are hallucinations. It doesn't Gen AI is not very good at extracting information, but it's very good at interpreting the information. And what's amazing advancement that's recently been done, like LangChain open source model, what it does. So if I want, for example, to understand what are the most frequent problems on the network, or what are the most frequent errors happening in my call flow. So what you can do, you can ask a large language model to generate an SQL query. Then you use actually SQL. It actually runs this. That's why it's called LangChain, because there is chain on events, right? So first it understands the problem, generates a query to, for example, list tables on the database that are going to be relevant. Then you're going to create a query to extract the information that is there, and then once the information is there, it's going to interpret it for you, right? So even though there are hurdles, but it is already having tools that overcome those hurdles, which is amazing.
Thank you, Patrick. Dr. Ahmed, yesterday Mr. Talal Al-Mamari, the CEO of Omantel, was questioned by my colleague Zakaria about his perspective on the future of the ICT sector 10 years from now. And he said that while these technologies are evolving exponentially, planning only over a 3-year period is already a challenge. So that being said, we would love to know how RITSI Global plans to build flexibility into its AI strategy to adapt to the ever-changing AI landscape.
So we have a very high appetite for experimentation. When you have the entirety of the west coast of Saudi to develop, and you have 15 different locations to start with, various different levels of development, early stages of construction, master planning, surveying, and then actual open airports and hotels that are up and running. That gives you the full spectrum to reasonably try out things. We're very disciplined in our principle that we're not a technology company. We'll use technology where it makes sense. We'll use it in a sensible way to solve real problems. But again, flip that over, and that's so much tech in so many different places. But again, being pragmatic, removing all the noise, removing all the buzz, being pragmatic about being laser focused about solving the problem in the most efficient manner, regardless of what the technology is. I think that's key.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed. My last question to Ari, to complement this perspective, in your opinion, what is the role of partnerships and collaborations between AI vendors in driving AI adoption in the telecom industry, given the rapid pace of AI evolution?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I'll keep it short because of the time.
Thank you very much.
At least we're going to talk a little bit about what we are doing in a tracker, right? Our telco GenAI solution, we are not trying to become an LLM ourselves. There's a lot out there, right? Work with them in the right partnership. We have partnership with Microsoft, with Google, with Amazon Bedrock, with all of these guys. We sit at the middle. So you have the different channels, whether it's external, internal, all of these, it doesn't matter. You have all these LLM kind of tools, right, on the side, and the telco BSS OSS data, and we sit in the middle, trying to create the right scenarios, using the right data to make sure that the LLMs, because let's be honest, operators are going to use different LLMs from different vendors. You just have to make sure that these are optimized in the right way so that the right contextual information goes out to the end users. And it could be in two different directions. It could be around revenue generation, proactive offer, next best action, next best offer, all of these things, or more around how do you handle call center, contact center, etc. from RPS. But it has to be done in a very secured way. So even though you are using this, bringing it together, remember these LLMs are in the public domain. So this contextual private information, personalized information, cannot go back to the World Wide Web, cannot go back to the public web. How do you obfuscate that? How do you make sure the prompt goes back, but the data doesn't go back in the right way? So the guardrails to create the right security models, security framework around that, that's what makes it happen. Also scenarios, add those scenarios from a prompt engineering standpoint so that it understands what is it really looking for. It's a lot of work to be done to make those tools, the LLM tools, which does fantastic work, to work in the right way in which it adds value to the telecom environment. And we can have 2 hours of discussion on this to make that happen, but we don't have time for that. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much, esteemed panelists, for your precious contributions. Thank you, the audience, for your presence, and thank you, Telecom Review Summit, for hosting us today. Please, big applause to our esteemed panelists. Thank you very much.